The first question is written in partially Chinese and partially English, and it wants to be answered in English. 當有 suffering 時，該怎樣辦？念經嗎？要念什麼經？請用英文回答，謝謝。What it says is, when there is suffering, what are we going to do? How do we chant? What sutras to chant? Please answer in English. When you have suffering, what kind of suffering? Do you know what kind of suffering you have? Usually we have 8 kinds of suffering. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Death is suffering. So these are the 4 basic. And the 5th is suffering arising from departure from beloved ones. When somebody passes away in the family or friends, their beloved ones, and they passed away, suffering arises. So suffering arising from departure of beloved ones. 6, suffering arising from cohabitation with hated ones. This is just the opposite. People you don't like to live with, you live with. Husband and wife. Brothers and sisters, husband and wife, they don't like each other. They don't love each other anymore, but because of the children, they still stay together because they want the children to have a healthy family instead of a broken family. So they maintain the family together, but they don't like each other. They hate each other. They don't see each other, just for the family. Brothers and sisters, they fight, they don't like each other. Or brothers and sisters who are always fighting for estates, that kind of thing. Or colleagues in a company, they hate each other. They always want to step up on their back. They don't get along. So this is cohabitation or living with hated ones, which is just the opposite of suffering arising from departure of beloved ones. It's just the opposite. Just number 6. Number 7, suffering arising from unsatisfied desire. It does not matter who you are. You're a multi-billionaire. You have all your desire fulfilled. You always have unsatisfied desire. It does not matter how rich you are. You could be very rich, but you are not healthy. You have desire for health. You are healthy, you are rich, you don't have a good family, you desire to have a good family. There's always, since you're human, you always have imperfections. You always have things that you're not satisfied with. It does not matter who you are. You always want to look for those. But you always cannot satisfy them. You're always in pursuit of insatiable desire. It's amazing how billionaires, they're not happy. We've seen reports, we've read reports about interview with billionaires, reporters, and asked them, are you happy? They say, I'm not happy. Why? Because I have these things that I haven't done. I have these desires that I have a lot of imperfections. I'm not happy. I'm not peaceful. But they have a lot of money. They have wealth and reputation. Somehow, everybody has some unsatisfied desire. So there's suffering arising from that. You're trying to pursue that desire, you try to fulfill that desire, but it does not come true for you. You want your dad to live, but he dies. You want your mom to live, he dies. You want him to live long, he or she he dies. You want to get in universities, you cannot because your academic records are not good enough. There's always desires that you can't fulfill. That's a suffering. The 8th one is suffering arising from the 5 skandhas. One of the 5 skandhas, the 5 skandhas make up your body. Form, perception, conception, memories, and consciousness. In other words, this body is made up of two things, body and mind, the material side and the spiritual side. And the interaction of this, the interaction of your body, of you to the outside world, all these interactions. When you see a movie, it's sad, you cry. When you see a movie, it's funny, you laugh. When somebody said something bad to you, you get angry. You're always subject, you're not in control, you're always subject to your own mental afflictions, your emotions and your passions. It's outside your control. Yet you think that you control it because this is my body, this is my mind. It is under my control. But as a matter of fact, you do not have control on it. Not even your own body. It dies on you. Not even on your emotions because you're out of control. Sometimes you get greedy, sometimes you get jealous, sometimes you're depressed, you have anxiety, you have fear. And somehow all these things happen that you really have to look into them. All these are general sufferings of the individual only. We're talking about individual, these 8 sufferings. There's many other sufferings. Sutra gives you a generalizations of this suffering, individually classified into these 8. But how about other sufferings? Natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, wars, racial discriminations, crimes, poverty. You name them. Those are outside sufferings that bring to the individuals. So the individuals, the micro suffering and the macro suffering. Death is a suffering. Aging is a suffering. Sickness is a suffering. Why is it a suffering? I'm not dying yet. I'm young. But how about family members? How are your friends? They're dying. You're grief-stricken. Aging. You're getting old. You're young now. But as time goes on, you're getting older and older, more and more wrinkles on your face. You're not as energetic. So all these are the sufferings. Now, when you have suffering like that, outer and inner sufferings, why do you have, what do I do? Do I chant? Do I pray? When you have suffering like this, you don't wait until the suffering comes. So I always remind people, if you want to avoid suffering, don't try to do it at an old age. Try to do it at early age. Try to learn the Buddhist teaching earlier. Why? Because you will avoid at least some sufferings. The other day I gave an example. I said life is just like walking a path. And this example, I like to extend on it. I like to evaluate on it. We're just like a path. And we're walking on it. The individual, walking on this path. I go into the next life. I go into another hotel. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, we don't know. If you've done good karma, you go into a 6-star hotel, 7-star hotel, enjoying your life in that hotel. And then you die after 100 years. You come out to this path again, you change another hotel. It could be a 4-star, a 3-star, a 2-star. It could be a hotel in the middle of nowhere, a hotel in Sichuan where there was an earthquake. We don't know. All these different hotels, this different life, this is your body. Right now, this hotel is my body. We get into every body. And when you are going through this path, these hotels that you have is suffering. And when you want to learn about this, before you check out in a hotel, you check in and you check out. When you check in there, you have to maintain the status. But in there, you have to learn. You have to learn that at the time when you check out, you don't go into the hotel again. who are you? Who is the you that goes into this different hotel? It's the same person. You think that all these different hotels is you. Right now, this is my hotel. I don't know how I classify my hotel. Maybe a 3-star, a 4-star. I'm in this hotel, and I change it all the time. But this person who enters that hotel is still the same person. It's not a different person. That's the real you. So when you check in that hotel, make sure that in that hotel you learned. By the time when you check out, you don't go into the hotel again. Where do we go? You go into a place where you don't have to get into life and death. No more suffering for you. There's so many methods that the Buddha said in his teaching about not getting into hotels of life and death. Go above it, go beyond it. One of the many ways is to go to the Pure Land. When you come out, when you check out, you don't go into the hotel. You will be received by Amitabha Buddha into a land that has no more reincarnations. You will be led into another world. Or if you attain nirvana in that hotel, when you check in there, you learn, you do all what you can to learn, you get into nirvana. You get into being an arhat. You get into the 4 levels: first level, second level, third level, fourth level. You could be a bodhisattva. You could be a pratyeka Buddha. You are arhat. So there's different methods where you practice. When you go out, don't go into the hotel again. It could be a hotel of hell. It could be a hotel of an animal. It could be a hotel in heavens. It could be a hotel of asuras. But mind you, it's always you. That's the real you in that. Don't recognize this hotel as you. Don't recognize this body, these 5 skandhas as you. That's not the real you. That's the fallacious you. This is Reverend Guan's hotel. And this is John's hotel. I'm John. I always think that this is me. And I got to maintain this ego called me. And maintaining it, in the process of maintaining it, I commit karma. I continuously committing karma. Some good ones, some bad ones. I continuously going into these reincarnations. So when you are in that hotel, don't waste your time. You start learning it. And one of the many methods to learn it is to purify yourself. Don't create any bad karma. So how not to create bad karmas? Taking precepts. Abstain from wrongdoings, because wrongdoings lead you into bad hotels. Now, not doing wrongdoing is not the ultimate way. Not going into wrongdoing only qualify you in your next life in going to good hotels. Hotel of heaven. Hotel of a millionaire, billionaire, because you have created good karma in you. In this life, when you're in that hotel, in there before you check out, you're doing good karma. You've done a lot of charity. You have been so compassionate. You are a bodhisattva, and you're not selfish. You're not egoistic. You're doing all kinds of good things, but you're not enlightened yet, because you only abstain from bad things and do good things. You haven't purified your mind. So you came out. You get into another 7-star hotel. You enjoy yourself in the next hotel. Because of the good karma that you have done, you qualify, you have a pre-registration into the next hotel. So you keep on going like that. And in one hotel, could be a poor hotel, you hesitate and you think, gee, this is not the real me. And when I check out from this hotel, I don't want to go through another round of reincarnation. I want to get enlightened. Not just by doing good deeds. Because doing good deeds will only qualify me to go to heaven. And heaven is not ultimate. After millions of years, I still died. So what I need to do is I got to purify my mind. To purify to such a stage that there's no more karma. If I create good karma, I only go to good hotels. But good or bad, no more karma. It's all pure. How do we do that? The Buddha's teaching tells you how to look for that purification. And there's so many terms to explain all this. Tathagata, suchness, reality, eternity, Buddhahood, you name them. So many of these methods to explain that is a thing in you. That is the reality in you. That is the real entity in you. Do you recognize that? The one who goes into the hotel is that's also you. But you go into another hotel to suffer, another hotel to enjoy. That real you is still you. But that real you should be going somewhere else. Not life and death. So when you check in those hotels, you have suffering. When you have sufferings, you've got to learn, first of all, stay away from bad deeds. Encourage and do all good deeds. That's not enough, because you still go into different hotels. The third is purification. Look at that. For that purification comes from what? Comes from the mind, comes from enlightenment. There's so many sutras that you can start with. You can start with the 8 Realization Sutra. You can start with Siddhagarbha Sutra. You can start with the Pandalika Sadama or Lotus Sutra. There's so many sutras you can start with. You can start with a short sutra first, the Heart Sutra. And not just chanting it, try to understand it. Try to understand what is Buddhism. Buddhism is not about just doing good deeds. There are many good religions emphasizing in just being good deeds, helping others, compassionate. The Buddha said, good deeds also have karma. It's good karma. What's the nature of karma? 3. Karma has 3 natures: good, bad, and neutral. If you're doing good karma, you're doing good cause, you qualify yourself to enjoy the good effect. But you're still not out from reincarnation as yet. So, what kind of sutra, what kind of mantra to chant, it also depends on what you have done in your past life. Some people, when they pick up a Diamond Sutra and they start to chant it, they chant it as if they've learned it before in the previous life. They chant Heart Sutra, they learned it before in the previous life. Sutra is not just for chanting. Chanting is the preliminary stage. Chanting is to familiarize yourself with the words, and then you have to get behind the words. What's the meaning of it? When you get behind the meaning of it, then you start to meditate on it. So the Buddha's teaching is not just blind faith. You believe in the Buddha and that is it. I have faith in the Buddha and I'm safe as long as I have faith. No, faith is not enough. You have to understand why. You have to understand the faith. What is the reasoning behind it? What's the thinking or the philosophy behind it? And then you continue to meditate on it. And when you meditate on it, your wisdom level, your prajna is elevated. When your wisdom level is continuously elevated, you will come to a point that you have a self-realization. And that self-realization is beyond words. You see, language is limited, Sutra use language to explain it. But the Zen people, the Zen monks, they don't read because they're beyond words. They don't need to depend on the words. What do they depend on? It's the mind. It's the mind communication. So when a Zen monk communicates with each other, sometimes when they go to a higher level, they communicate by gesticulation. They don't use words because words are so limited. Language is so limited. Language cannot express everything. So when a Zen monk is at a high level, they exchange view by gesticulation. At a higher level, they exchange view by mind to mind. When you go to a higher level of existence in the 3 levels, when you go to a higher level, they don't communicate by language. At a higher level, they communicate by light. What is light communication? They don't talk like us. In this world, it's a crude world where we talk, where we use language to talk. At a higher level of existence, in the heaven level, they communicate not by words. They communicate in one level, in one heaven, they communicate by light. What is this light? Energy. They communicate by mind-to-mind communication. And in one level of the heaven, there's so many levels of heaven, 28 levels of heaven. One level, the lower heaven, they communicate by what? They communicate by eyesight. When they look at you and you look at me, the eyesight communication. And in another level of heaven, they communicate by sound. Not the language, it's just the sound. The sound, not the language sound. So as you can see, chanting, the words themselves, they can't explain everything. They are limited. They can only explain the surface. Say, if I have a cup of water and you ask me to explain how hot it is, how cold it is, how does it taste like, I can use all kinds of words to explain it. But you would only know by you tasting it. It does not matter how I explain it. You don't know. Only when you drink it, you know. So how do you drink it? When you chant and chant and chant, when you purify your mind in meditation, so meditation is extremely important. When you purify your mind in purification, your wisdom level is increasing and increasing. And you feel it yourself without asking questions. So in a Zen meditation hall, if the Zen master asks a question, any disciple who answer, just by your answer, the teacher knows which level you are at. Just by the answer. And in some of the answers, we thought that the answer is not to the point, but that answer is right on dot. That's Zen meditation. So when you ask me this question, I don't want to go on and on and on, but it is sufficient to say that what kind of sutra to chant, you pick your own. There's so many there. Why do I have to chant it? You know yourself. Why you have to chant it? I have already explained it. Okay, that's the first question. The second question is a very long question. Thank you for answering my question last Sunday about moral dilemmas. In this concrete example, a mother is forced to choose between her two children in a Nazi Germany concentration camp. The child she picks will live, while the other must die in the gas chambers. In this case, taking a neutral stance might not be a good idea. According to Buddhism, what should the mother do? She cannot save both her children, and her decision will inevitably cause the death of one child, and she will have to live with guilt for the rest of her life. Let's tackle the last part of the questions first. You think that mother would live with guilt for the rest of her life? She's being forced to make a decision, either child A or child B, and both are her children. Which child to choose? Maybe that's a concrete life example that happened in the concentration camp in Nazi Germany. It could happen that only one child can live. Which child you want to live? The other has to go to the gas chamber. That's a tough decision to make. I don't know the answer. Probably, if I'm the mom, I have a lot of options to do. My first option would be, sir, can you take me to the gas chamber and let my two children live? That could be my choice. I want to sacrifice myself and let my two children live because I'm old and you take me to the gas chamber. That's a bodhisattva. That's exactly what a bodhisattva would do. Would you do that? That's my option. I don't have to make a decision, right? Don't force yourself into making one. But if the Nazi Germany said, no, mom, you must live, your child must live, and one child must die. Can you talk him into doing so by letting you die? Would you prefer to die to save your child? If you say, no, I don't want to die. I want to live. I want one child to live. Then you make your choice. But I think the best choice would be you sacrifice yourself. Can you sacrifice yourself? Not many people would do, but some mom would do. That's why, especially in the Chinese culture, they practiced filial piety. They thought that their parents have done a lot for them. Because parents sometimes can sacrifice their life for children. Not only humans, animal parents sacrifice themselves for their children. So I can't imagine mother leave their child at the gate of a hospital and went away and leaving the child behind. Or mom performing an abortion to kill her own child. I can't imagine that. So if you ask me what options, I think if she really have to take a chance, either one live, and she doesn't have to make a decision. She has to make a decision, which she has guilt. I don't think there's too much guilt. If she wants to look after that remaining child, if that's her purpose, depends on intention. I'm the mom. I said, I want to sacrifice myself, and Nazi Germany said, no. Then, okay, then I'll live, then I have to look after one child. Then you have to choose which child. You have to make a wise decision. There's so many options. Then you find out which child should live so that he or she will benefit mankind. If this child is more intelligent, is more healthy, and the other child is extremely sick and is not intelligent, maybe you should choose the intelligent and the healthy one to live. Now, there's so many attributes you have to consider. If one child is a very altruistic child, the other one is a very egoistic child, and he's not doing any good to the society anyway, then you would say the altruistic child will live. Because from a Bodhisattva's point of view, the altruistic child will do a lot more, will benefit his existence or her existence will benefit others more than this child. Then you have to make a wise decision. How can I make the decision for her? You think she doesn't have any decision? You think that she has no choice? She has a lot of choices. I can exhaust these choices. Don't limit your view. Don't think that you're coming to a close end. Whatever problems you have, even if you're at a dead end, there's always hope. There's always a way out. Depends on how you look at it. Because life is not just one time. Life is eternity. Okay, I'm not going to hang on this question for too long. Right now, I've spent half an hour on just 2 questions. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I can talk on and on for another half hour, but it's not worth it. Next, in FVZ hell, one of the iron creatures that perform the torturing of those who committed bad karma, are they considered sentient beings? If so, then those creatures themselves are doing bad deeds, and thus would they be reborn in hell themselves? Well, there are creatures there who are just like security guards, or they they help to perform the torturing. According to sutras, I forgot the name of the sutra, there were 2 countries at war, and both armies, country A, army of country A, army of country B, went to the battlefield. Maybe 1 million of them, I forgot the number. 1 million of this, 1 million of the soldiers marching to a battlefield and war, and they were fighting. And one country was trying to defend themselves. In other words, this country is going to attack us. We have to defend it. And the attackers were so strong that this country B, there were no match for them. So before they die, the king and all his soldiers make a strong vow. But these people were trying to take our land. We're just defending. Now, after we died, we want to go to hell and judge on these guys, on these soldiers. And if 1 million soldiers were making a strong will, the karma is so strong. So all this 1 million, maybe I forgot the number, all this, the king and all these cabinet ministers and generals were all united to make this strong will, this vow that they want to revenge. It was so strong that when they died and the country lost, they went down hell and they become the Yama king and all these other creatures who were responsible for performing for the torturing. And all these soldiers who occupied the land, who molested the women and children and robbed their land and all these, when they died, they were being judged by them. And as time goes on, they were still in hell. Or the Yama king also had to suffer. It was in the sutra that in a certain time of the day, the Yama king had to go through the suffering himself. Why? In hell. They were suffering also. And when their suffering was due, then they would be reborn again. They were reborn again in different places. So they also subject to their own karma.